Welcome to the Kung Fu Physicist podcast, episode 4. I am the Kung Fu Physicist, here to take the mystery out of Kung Fu and add science to fighting. Alright, first of all, guys, today's episode, we're going to cover some announcements, and we're going to cover some stages of learning for students. So if you're currently a Wing Tsun student, this is going to be very important for you, because I'm going to go over the peaks and troughs of learning, the highs and the lows in my experience and my journey coming up. And it will also cover things that you can look out for as you train Wing Tsun Kung Fu. Secondly, for my physics tip, I'm going to go over power in the strikes and what power means. And I'm also going to go over, for the self-defense tip, bullying. So we're going to talk about bullying today. Now, I only have 30 minutes, so this is going to be a quick one. Hope you guys will enjoy. If you do enjoy and you're watching this on YouTube, please, of course, follow us, like us, and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button below. If you're on Spotify, again, please hit follow for us. It really helps us out. And I see we've had some listeners from North Holland and Bulgaria. So I don't speak any Dutch, but I do speak a little Bulgarian. So to my Bulgarian listeners, Zdravej, kaksi. All right, that's all I got to say about that. My Bulgarian is not very good. Moje bulgarski je ужасно. See, I can't even say it right. Okay. So here we go. Very first today, some announcements. We have summer camp coming up fast. We're hosting a summer camp here in a couple weeks. If you guys are listening and you're in the Glenview area, come on over for our summer camp. We have a really great program for kids. It teaches them self-defense. It teaches them confidence. And it's a pretty unique program because we deal with real-world self-defense. We deal with instances like how to actually deal with someone coming up to you in school. If someone is bullying you or someone picks on you, I have a couple great success stories of my students that they lower their reactivity for the kids. We actually have 3 really good success stories in our kids programs. One boy who overcame his ADHD through our programs, another boy who got attacked in school and he was able to defend himself successfully, and a third boy, very young, who was also attacked in school, but he was able to keep his cool and just tell the teacher. He didn't cry after getting hit and pushed normally like kids would do. He was able to stay calm and relax and think in the situation. And so that's the benefits we provide to kids. We teach this all in our summer camp, and the kids have a lot of fun. They get to watch some Kung Fu movies. We have Kung Fu Panda, as well as the Avatar Last Airbender series. And so they have a great time in our camp. If you're listening, you're in the Glenview area, come on, bring them over. We do registration by week and registration by the day. So it's not a long-term commitment. So if you have breaks between those other camps that you're sending your kids to, we have a really good program here for them to take advantage of. Next announcement, of course, Sifu German, me, Sifu Anna, Alex, and a bunch of our students are heading down to San Antonio. I'm actually leaving later today on a flight to head down to San Antonio, and we are going to train with Great Grandmaster Lung Tang. I am super excited. I have not seen him for years and years and years. Last time we saw him was 2019. I can't wait to see him again. We also want updates on our programs to keep our Wing Tsun Kung Fu program really up to date and really top of the top. Everyone notices when they come in here the difference in the quality of our training. We have really high quality training and really different way we do things. So super excited to see Joe this weekend. Okay, so let's get into the meat of it. Again, I don't have too much time, but this is a super important topic because a lot of our students start experiencing this. So, there are stages of learning for the students. There are times that it becomes really hard, and there are times that it becomes really enjoyable. I don't know how else to say it. It's like you're thrilled, you're enthusiastic about training, but sometimes there are some moments where you're not so thrilled anymore, you're not sure you're learning, it's a really kind of depressing time. And I'm going to cover those stages for you guys. So let's start the student's journey. You just walk in, okay? You have just decided to try to learn Wing Tsun or maybe any martial art, but you come into our school. The first 3 student levels are purely dedicated to you learning where to put your hands, what's the name of the techniques, where to step, how to step, using your footwork. You're learning all the basics of the system. And in those first 3 levels, everything is pretty clear and straightforward. Like, this is a Tan Sao, this is a Pak Sao, this is what Gan Sao means. These are your basic hand movements. This is where you should put your arm. So these positions still stay true as you go forward, right? But the first 3 student levels, the main thing is learning a bit of coordination and learning the technical pieces of the art. And in fact, I believe the first 3 student levels, you learn almost every movement in the entire system in those 3 levels. So there's a couple more movements that you don't see in those 3 levels. But for the most part, I would say you learn between 85 and 90% of all the movements you're ever going to see in the entire system. So the first 3 levels, the student starts learning, and you're like, okay, I got to remember this. Okay, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm remembering Pak Sao, I'm remembering Tan Sao. Now I know what a chain punch is. I know what a high inside punch is. I'm starting to really get it. I know my stance turn. I know my character 2 adduction stance. I know my circle step. And you're starting to feel good. At first, you feel really shaky. You feel really awkward. It's kind of like, how do I do this move? What's the name of that, right? So the first challenge, student level 1 through 3, you feel that challenge of learning the names of the movements, and then you start getting them. So 1 through 3 is like, oh, I have this challenge. All right, oh, I'm getting good. I'm starting to get my objective, right? And you start to feel really good right around student level 3. This is, by the way, this is my experience. It's totally subjective, and this is also what other students have told me. And we kind of see these peaks and troughs as Sifus. So then, student level 4 comes around, and you're going to start to learn Chum Kyu. First 3 levels, you're learning Siu Nim Tao. Then you're going to learn Chum Kyu. When you get into the Chum Kyu levels, all of a sudden there's a new phase of learning. And that's where you're kind of learning how to put all those moves you learned before together and how to apply them. So we'll start learning stuff like Dan Chi Sao, Pun Sao, rolling. And all of these are exercises and drills, but any of the students who come in can take a look at our student sheet. We have our program laid out on the wall. And you'll notice that the number of techniques you're learning in the very beginning is very high, and the number of techniques you're learning later starts to dwindle down. So the actual techniques, the hand movements. From there, now you're going to be like, uh-oh, I thought I was doing good, and now all of a sudden I can't do anything. Right? So right around student level 4, level 5, like that, I think people hit their first hump. It's like, or their first barrier. they start feeling like, oh my gosh, wait a minute, I thought I was doing well at this, and all of a sudden I can't do anything right. And it's because you're learning a different thing that you were learning before. Now you're learning how to combine the hand movements with the leg movements, and that's why it's Chum-Kyu, right? So then you're going forward, you start learning Chi-Sao, you start learning Poon-Sao. It's getting hard, but you're getting there. You're starting to get a feel for it. And so right around student level 6 and 7 and 8, you're starting to feel kind of good. And then student level 9, student level 10, you get your black shirt. And then comes another pit. Okay. So then that pit comes down because you're going to start learning a new section, second section, and third section of Chi-Sao. And you're going to start getting moved towards technician. So now you have another challenge. You're going to have to start learning how to be aggressive. So having the technical piece, you kind of got the technical pieces down. And then all of a sudden now we're going to have a switch to keep those Chi-Sao springs, to really have that. We're going to push them. We had them before, but now we're really going to start pushing you because you're coming up to become a technician. And to become a technician, you have to be not only technical, because that's why it's called technician, but you have to learn some of that aggression, and you have to learn to have some of that will to fight. And you have to learn to apply it in your Chi-Sao. So right around 10th student grade, I would say, is where you hit your second, barrier. It's kind of like a depressing time. Like, you thought you were learning, you thought you knew stuff, and all of a sudden things start seeming like, wait a minute, I thought I learned this already and I can't do anything and this and that. So right around 10th, I would say there's a new phenomena that happens. The first barrier you run into at 4th student level, it's just because you're switching gears in the training. We're taking it up to a new level. The second stage that the student runs into around 10th student level is because all of a sudden your sensitivity is starting to pick up, and you're starting to notice your mistakes a lot more. Before, you didn't notice what you were doing. In the beginning, we're like, put your shoulder down. You're like, I'm not raising my shoulder. And it's like, yeah, you are. Look, it's up. Around 10th student level and 11th student level, you start actually feeling when you're doing it. So now you can start recognizing it. You can start recognizing when you do your Hyun-Sao bad. You can start recognizing when you're doing techniques poorly. And all of a sudden, it's like your bad techniques are getting thrown into your own face. Because you're seeing them. Now you're seeing them. Oh my God. Look at this. I'm doing all these things wrong. How did Sifu let me get this far with doing everything wrong? Right? Some people feel that way, and it's like, man, I thought I knew this. This is basic level 1 stuff. I can't do it anymore. The truth is, you're getting better at that time. You are currently getting better, and your sensitivity is increasing, and that's why you're seeing this change in yourself. You're starting to doubt yourself. You're like, I thought I could do this well. Can I really do this? Because you're starting to become so good that you can actually see what you're doing wrong. So it's a big phase. I believe it happens. For me, it was like between 10th student level and all the way up to first technician. I was in this big, I don't know what you call it, like a depression, or it's a discouraging time because you feel that, it just sucks. Just going through it kind of sucks. But this is a Kung Fu, guys. So there's going to be times that suck. There's physically hard times and there's mentally hard times. That's when I would say is a big mentally hard time it was for me. And then the main thing to do is just keep breathing, just keep going forward, and you're going to get out of it. It's like a foggy, mental time. It's like, man, I thought it was good. And all of a sudden you're just doubting yourself. And that's the first big, like, depressing time. It happens between 10th student level, between 10th and first technician. Everybody kind of goes through that. And I see the students go through it too. And it's disheartening, but we try to, encourage them, like, guys, this is just a phase. You're going to get through it. Don't worry. So those of you that are at that level right now, I have news for you. Then after first technician, all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I can recognize my mistakes and I can work on them and I can get better with them. And I'm going to keep focusing and getting better at my material. And then you're like out of it. And you're like, wow, here I am. Okay, great. I'm first technician now. I've got a lot to learn. I got a lot more stuff to focus on. Then we start learning Buji. You get to start learning all the different Chum Q sections. And then you get more excited. Like, it's more exciting time right after first technician. You made it. You made it through that big hill. You feel accomplished. And now between the first and second technician level is about the equivalent of going through like 8 student levels, essentially. So you're feeling really good first technician. And I can always tell when our students are getting almost there to be second technician, because guess what? There's another depression that happens, right? It's because right around the time you're getting to second technician, when you technically can become a Sifu, if you're teaching, you start experiencing a fog. It's like, this is what I experienced. So I experienced a fog where I was like, I know all these techniques, I know all these Chisao sections, but all of a sudden I just can't seem to get them apart. Like, I can't seem to go to 6th section. I can't seem to go to 2nd section. I can't, like, I feel like my Buji is maybe okay, but I feel really awkward doing it. And all of a sudden it's like, wait, what was that first student level? What was that 6th student level? What's the first section? Like, everything like started going into this fog. I couldn't tell anything apart anymore. It was a big, like, again, almost like a crisis that I had. Like, I thought I was getting better, and now it seemed like, man, I just got stupid. I can't remember anything. I can't remember nothing. Like, it's like, yeah, okay, Paksao, yeah, I know. Yeah, Tansao, yeah, I know that. If you say it, but go through this section. And I try to go through the section, and I can't get through the section. And it's like, why can't I stick in the section? Why can't I stay with it? And what was that section again anyway? And so you start getting into this big fog. And I remember I had this conversation with my Sigung, Sifu Mike, who's just the most amazing Sifu, like the most caring and the most knowledgeable Sifu, and he's my Sigung, and so he's always very encouraging to me. And I told him about this issue I was having. I said, Sigung, I can't tell any of the sections apart anymore. I can't tell them apart. And he told me, oh, well, that's good. That's a sign that you're almost ready for second. And I was like, what? What does that mean? That means I don't know anything. It's like now I thought I knew all this stuff, and now essentially I don't know shit anymore, right? Everything's just like gone. It's like fuzzed out of my head. And then finally I made second, and then I come out of the fog and I'm like, oh, I can't tell the sections apart because they're not different fundamentally. They're all the same. And now you guys who are not to second technician yet, you're probably saying like, what? No, they're clearly different. They're clearly different things. But those of you who have gone through second will be like, oh, yeah, I did kind of feel that way. Oh, maybe that's what I was feeling, right? It's hard to describe what it is exactly. But it's about that for everybody who goes through. I can see right now I had a couple of my first technicians last night who are working towards their second, and one of them, I can tell she's getting close. She's really approaching second technician. We have some other students who are approaching second, and I can always tell when they're approaching second because they start getting into this low period, like, oh, I thought, man, all these sections, oh my gosh, my brain, like, and it's like, I thought I was doing good. I feel like I'm not doing good. It's this thing they go down into. And it's like, oh, you're getting ready. So for those of you experiencing this, just keep going. Don't worry. You will make it through it. It's a discouraging time, but you will get through, I promise. So finally, so now I'm a third technician and I'm going towards my fourth. I haven't experienced, I'm experiencing another wall right now. I'm currently working on it. But the wall I'm experiencing is I'm like starting, I feel it's coming right now. Because I was feeling good for a while, and now all of a sudden I'm feeling like, ugh. Like it's this other weird feeling. So I can tell that I'm going to run into another one of those periods, and I think it's going to be, what I'm feeling right now is that I'm again having, now I know so much stuff that the ability to just choose it very quickly is very difficult, and that's what I'm running into. Like, I want to use this thing, but where do I use it? Like, I've got this thing, where do I use it? And I'm working with somebody, and all of a sudden something comes out, and I'm like, oh, where did that come from? Wait, where was that? Oh, that was this piece. Well, how did I get there? Right? So it's a new barrier that I'm running into that's now it's a little discouraging for me because there's a lot of pressure. I have to know a lot of material. And at the same time, it's like, it's just really overwhelming. It's like, oh man, I haven't worked on that section in so long. Let me work on that again. So that's my current wall that I'm running into. So again, students, if you're feeling discouraged, don't feel so bad. Talk to your Sifu. Say, oh, I'm running into this. I thought I knew the stuff, and now all of a sudden I'm not knowing anything. Things aren't so simple anymore. You're just going through the natural course of training, and you will get through it, I promise. Okay, so I am running out of time here. I spent a lot more time talking on that than I had intended. So let me just go over something very simple. So power in your strikes. This is going to be my physics tip. A lot of you guys want to have more powerful punches. I will tell you the secret at the very first levels. And actually I'll diverge a bit and I'll talk a little bit of difference between men and women and how men and women learn differently in this art. Because everybody wants to learn about the power in the strikes. So the key to learning the power in the beginning is we're always teaching the students to relax. You have to relax. You have to relax your arm. So actually, these peaks and troughs happen differently for men and women. For men, one of the biggest difficulties in the very beginning, men have a much harder time before that second hump, the second hump that happens at 10th student level, black shirt. Men have a really hard time, even up to technician, I would say. Men have a much harder time because, and this is a generality, this is just what I've noticed among many students, but we have a tendency to try to fight. Like, someone pushes and we want to pull back. And we have this, like, our body tenses up immediately. And immediately you want to get aggressive and you want to tense up. And so men have a lot harder time dealing with that because we have to learn to relax. We have to learn to let the other person do their thing. And we don't want to do that. All right, so the first up to technician, men have a much harder time than women. And so the women who start at first student level will excel very rapidly through the art. They pick it up very quickly. Now, it's probably a throwback to the fact that this art was probably originally invented by women. Maybe it was a single woman. Maybe it was a group of people with women in it. I mean, the original story is that it was a woman, it was a nun who invented the system. So that is a legend, it's a myth, but that's what we got. And it's pretty clear with the female students that they start getting things in the beginning much more rapidly than the men. Men really have to tone themselves down quite a bit to like just relax and let the other person take the force, give them the force and use the force, right, that the other person is giving. Women run into a big issue probably around between first and second technician, because they have an issue with the aggression. So the women tend to go quicker in the beginning, and then they run into a wall later. And that's with the aggression part. I'm not going to hypothesize why that is, but I'm going to say that that's what I've noticed. And maybe it has to do with the way everyone's raised. Maybe it's just how women naturally are. But that's where women have the most problem, is turning up that aggression. Like turning that aggressive switch on. So that's a big hump that women run into, that is happening typically to guys, maybe more so around 10th student level. I find that women don't have that trouble around that time. They tend to excel rapidly through the program, and even to much of the guys kind of get angry because they can't do the same thing. They don't have the same ability. But then when it turns time to turn the aggression on, then the men have an easier time to do that than the women. The women have a much harder time to turn on that switch, like that fighter-killer instinct, right? But they get through it, and if you see any female sifus, you better not mess with them, all right? They will get you, okay? All right, so physics tip quickly: increasing your power in your strikes. One formula for power is force times velocity. Okay. So let's say your force can stay the same because the weight of your body can't change. Let's say you have the same strength. So what you can do is increase the speed of your punch. And the best way to increase the speed of your punch, and I come back to what I said before, is to learn to relax, so that you only turn on your tricep while you're punching, all right? Your tricep right here is between your elbow and your shoulder, all right? It's on the bottom of your arm. That's your punching muscle, all right? It's called your tricep. You have to learn to turn this tricep on, and only the tricep, and not use your bicep to slow down your punch. So if you want to maximize your power, you have to learn to relax. So that's why in our beginning student levels, we're always teaching everyone to relax. All the way up to technician, we're saying relax, relax, relax. Okay. So, increase power by relaxation. All right. Final tip, bullying. All right, my self-defense tip. Bullying is about control and emotional control of a person. So it's called dominance behavior in the social sciences, in psychological sciences. So, to fight bullying, because bullying is an emotional attack, guess what? You have to fight back emotionally, all right? So, they're trying to get a rise out of you, an emotional rise. So, they're going to call you stupid. And especially this is important for kids in high school. So, if you have any high school kids, listen to this. People will try to control you emotionally before they ever physically attack you. So, if someone comes up and calls you stupid, oh, you're stupid, you have to say something like, oh, well, you must be really smart then. All right, and you see how I turned it around. So I'm still calling them a name. One of their main tools is name calling. All right, so you're dumb, you're hideous, you're ugly, you know. Oh, you're so ugly. I'm like, oh, well, you must think that you look good. And it's like, wait, what do you mean what I think? Okay. What do you mean what I think I look? Of course I think I look good. Like, well, then you must think you look really good then. That's all I have to say. Then you keep walking and get out of their face, all right? But they might corner you. They might try to talk to you and say, oh, you're really dumb and I hate you and you're stupid. And you got to say something like, you seem to think about me quite a bit. Like, why you keep obsessing over me? Do you like me or something? So this is how you flip it. You see how I played a game with that. Again, it's an emotional thing. So from Wing Tsun, the best defense to an attack is an attack. So never say something like, if a bully comes up to you and says, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You're such a loser, you're such an idiot. Don't say like, I'm not a loser. I'm not. No. So now you're getting defensive. So you have to go on the offensive. So you have to say is like, if someone says, oh, you're an idiot, that's why you did that thing. You say, well, you must be much smarter, so why don't you come up with a solution? Why don't you show me how it's done? All right. And so then put them in the place. And they say, well, I can do it. Like, oh, can you? Well, let me see. Come on. If I'm so dumb and I can't do it, then you must be able to do it. Right? And then if the person can do it, right, some people are pretty skilled or whatever, you say, wow, well, you're so good at that. How about you help other people instead of putting them down? Because, I can't do that. So I can't do that thing. How about you help me do it next time? You see how I'm switching stuff around there? You see, keep your cool, switch it around. It's going to be very nerve-wracking inside because of the threat of violence, right? The second tool a bully uses is intimidation. They might push you, they might nudge you, they might physically pinch you, stuff like that. And that's where you have to stay in the class to deal with that. You have to physically posture against them. So again, an attack has to come with an attack. So someone's emotionally trying to control you with these little pushes. Someone might pinch you in the class. You don't go around, you don't say, ow, stop it. Okay, you have to do some certain other things, which we can teach you in here. So please come in and I'll teach you that. I'm not going to say them because there's no one-size-fits-all answer. That's why we have a system of self-defense here. That's it for this episode of the Kung Fu Physicist. I'm glad you guys could join me today. I look forward to this seminar in San Antonio, Texas. I'm going to see many of my Wing Tsun brothers and sisters. Hopefully I'll get some interviews down there, and we'll actually have an interview on our channel soon. So look forward to seeing you guys next time. Again, follow us, like this post, and yeah, keep supporting me. All right, guys, have a good day, and I'll talk to you later.